After 22 years of lies and cheating, she told me I was never enough, so I gave her the DNA proof, the eviction notice, and a legal hell she never saw coming. You're not a real man. Leaving mom on the streets over her small cheating mistake from 20 years ago? Pathetic. That was the moment my daughter, Haley, spat those words in my face. Her lips curled in disgust, like I was the villain. She stood there, tall, cold, smug, defending her mother, the same woman who had just learned that the daughter she raised with me wasn't mine. Not biologically, not legally, not emotionally anymore. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't blink. I just reached into the envelope in my hand and pulled out 2 documents, the DNA test and the address of her real father. Take these, I said calmly, and pack your things. You've got 30 minutes. Let me rewind. It all began with a phone call. One of those late-night ones you answer half asleep thinking it's a telemarketer or maybe an emergency. Turns out, it was both. A guy named Marcus called, drunk and bitter, asking if I ever wondered why Haley didn't look like me. He called me bro, like we were teammates on the same losing team. I hung up, but the seed had been planted. I couldn't sleep after that. I sat on the edge of the bed, watching my wife Danielle snore softly, like nothing in the world could ever touch her. Danielle, my wife of 22 years, the love of my life, or so I thought. The next few weeks were a blur. I took the brush Haley used, sent it off to a lab I found online. $299 for the truth. I didn't even tell Danielle. I couldn't, not yet. I needed to know if Marcus was just a bitter drunk or if I'd been living in a beautifully decorated lie. The results came back 2 days before our anniversary. 0% match. I stared at that piece of paper like it had just stabbed me in the gut. My hands trembled. I laughed. I actually laughed. Not because it was funny, no, far from it, but because I had no idea what else to do. I had raised this girl, paid for her braces, cheered at her high school graduation, held her when her first boyfriend broke her heart, and now she wasn't mine, biologically at least. And Danielle, that woman, had been lying to me every single day of our marriage. I didn't confront her right away. I wanted to see what more I could find. Curiosity turned into obsession. I started checking old photo albums, calendar dates, anything that would make sense of the timeline. That's when I found the journal. She used to write in it back when we were first married. She thought I never read it. July 3rd, I shouldn't have gone to that club, but it felt good. 5 men. God, I was reckless. But he'll never know. He was away on that stupid work trip. Still, I can't stop thinking about Marcus. My heart stopped. 5 men. She didn't just cheat once. It was a buffet of betrayal. And while I was out working double shifts to save for our first home, she was out playing roulette with strangers. The next morning, I set the table. Eggs, toast, coffee, the DNA test at the center, the journal right next to it. She came downstairs in her usual silk robe, like nothing had changed, smiled at me like she deserved a medal. "What's all this?" she asked. "Breakfast," I said. "And a funeral." She blinked, confused. I slid the papers over. Silence. She stared at them, eyes narrowed. "You went through my journal? That's what you're worried about?" She scoffed. "Oh please, Alex. That was decades ago. We weren't even married yet. And what? You're going to destroy our family over something that happened before your precious wedding ring went on my finger?" "You lied every single day," I said. "It was just a stupid night. Get over it." "No, it wasn't just a night. It was 5. 5 men and 1 daughter who's not even mine." That's when Haley walked in. She looked at the papers, looked at her mom, then at me. "You're pathetic," she said. Danielle didn't even deny it. She crossed her arms and smirked, like she'd won. So I stood, calm, collected. "You've got 30 minutes to pack your stuff," I said, handing the address of Marcus to Haley. "Go meet your real dad. I'm done playing the clown." But this wasn't over. Not even close. Haley slammed the door behind her as she stormed upstairs, muttering curses under her breath. I didn't chase her. I didn't even flinch. I just stood there in the kitchen, watching Danielle sip her coffee like it was just another Wednesday morning. "You're really going to let this ruin everything?" she asked, leaning against the counter, calm as a corpse. "You're seriously throwing away 22 years over a technicality?" "A technicality?" I said slowly. "You call 5 different men a technicality?" Danielle shrugged. "We weren't married. Then why lie about it for 2 decades? I snapped. "Why make me believe Haley was mine? Why build a family on lies?" She rolled her eyes. "Because you wouldn't have stayed if I told you the truth, and I needed you back then. Simple." That hit like a sucker punch. No apology, no guilt, just cold logic. "You needed me," I said, "like a paycheck." She didn't answer. She didn't have to. I sat down slowly at the table, trying to process what was happening. My ears were ringing, not from rage, no, that would come later, but from disbelief. The woman I had trusted with everything, the woman I had carried through depression, debt, 2 surgeries, was standing in front of me, emotionally bankrupt. She finally put down her coffee cup and looked me dead in the eye. "What's your plan, Alex? You going to cry to your lawyer, take the house? Good luck, half of it's mine." I looked at her for a long moment. She didn't know I'd already spoken to a lawyer. She didn't know I'd already had our finances reviewed, my name cleared off her personal debts, or that I'd pulled copies of every joint account and investment. She thought I was still the same gullible man who kissed her forehead every night and brought her breakfast in bed on Sundays. But I had changed. In the last 40 to 8 hours, I had burned the old version of myself alive. "I'm not crying to anyone," I said quietly. "I'm building a bonfire." She chuckled. "You're pathetic. You're going to blow up everything over one mistake. 5 mistakes, 1 lie, and a lifetime of pretending," I said. Danielle suddenly shifted, her smirk fading just slightly. "You really think she'll want to stay with you after this? Haley's my daughter. She'll come with me." "She's not your leverage anymore," I said coldly. "She's a grown woman. She'll decide for herself." I just gave her the truth, something you never did. Her eyes narrowed. "So what, you're going to play the noble victim now?" "No," I said. "I'm going to play the man who's done being played." I stood up, heart pounding like a war drum. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw every dish in the kitchen at the wall. But I didn't. That would have been too easy. No, I wanted her to feel the pressure build slowly. I wanted her to watch everything she built on lies crumble in silence. "You've got 1 hour to call whoever you're staying with. After that, I'm changing the locks," I said. She laughed, but there was a crack in her voice now. The smugness was slipping. "You can't just throw me out, Alex. I've got rights." "Sure you do, but I've got evidence. And a lawyer who's ready to go scorched earth." She grabbed her phone and turned away, muttering something under her breath. As I watched her leave the room, something in me snapped into place. Not rage, not sadness, just clarity. I had spent 2 decades thinking I was building a life with a woman who loved me. Turns out I was a supporting character in her long con. But now the story was mine to write. And Danielle, she had no idea how bad things were about to get. An hour passed. I heard nothing but the faint buzz of Danielle's voice behind the bedroom door, angry, sharp, then fake sweet as she called whoever she thought would rescue her. Probably one of her old backup boys. Hell, maybe even Marcus. The irony of it made my stomach turn. At exactly 60 minutes, I walked upstairs. She was stuffing clothes into a suitcase, not folded, just crumpled into a heap. Rage and panic do that to a person. Her hands were shaking, but her face snapped back into smug mode the second she saw me. "You know you're making a huge mistake," she said, not even looking at me. "This tantrum you're throwing, it's going to backfire. Haley's going to hate you for this." "She already does," I replied, leaning against the doorframe. "But when she finds out the full truth, she'll hate you even more." Danielle zipped up the suitcase with one violent tug. "Truth? What truth?" "You told her I slept around. You gave her a test result. Big deal." I pulled out a flash drive from my pocket and twirled it between my fingers. She froze. "What's that?" "I recorded our last 3 arguments and your journal pages. I scanned them. Everything's backed up. Sent copies to my lawyer, a backup drive, and my brother Ben just in case." Her nostrils flared. "You're disgusting." "No," I said calmly. "I'm prepared." The look in her eyes was priceless, rage blended with fear. She didn't think I had the spine. She thought I'd fold, like always. She grabbed her phone and started texting furiously, probably lining up her next landing spot. I didn't stop her. I didn't care. I was past caring. Then came the knock at the door. We both froze. She looked at me, suddenly unsure. I walked downstairs, opened the door, and there stood a man in a cheap suit with slicked back hair and a smile that made my blood boil. "Alex, right? I'm Todd, Danielle's lawyer, just here to talk, nothing official." I didn't even blink. "You're 58 minutes too early. She's not on the lease anymore." He smirked. "You're really going through with this, huh? All over a misunderstanding." "Yeah, a misunderstanding involving 5 strangers and a paternity test." He chuckled. All right. Look, she's willing to settle amicably. She wants the car, a small alimony, and visitation rights if Haley moves out with you." I stared at him. "She gets nothing." His eyebrows lifted. "Come on, man. That's not how divorce works." I handed him a manila envelope. Inside were financial statements, photos of Danielle with Marcus in Vegas dated just 5 years ago, not 20, and a copy of her journal, the one where she bragged about keeping Alex blind and stupid. Todd read in silence. Then he shut the envelope slowly. "Okay," he said, suddenly sober. "Let me talk to my client." I shut the door. Upstairs, Danielle must have seen his face through the window because when I came back up, she was pale. "I told you," I said quietly. I'm not your husband anymore. I'm the guy cleaning up the mess you made." She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again, and then, finally, the mask cracked. "You were never enough for me," she said, her voice ice. "You were always too soft, too needy. I married you because I was pregnant and scared, not because I loved you." I smiled. "Thanks for the clarity." She shoved past me with her suitcase and stomped downstairs. As she opened the front door, she looked back one last time. "This isn't over." I nodded. "No, it's just starting." And then she was gone. I stood alone in the hallway, the silence ringing louder than her footsteps. For the first time in years, I felt something new. Not heartbreak, not betrayal, but freedom. I didn't sleep that night, not because of regret, not because I missed her. No, those emotions died the moment she said I was never enough. That was the bullet through the heart I didn't know I needed. I sat in Haley's room, in the same spot where I used to read her bedtime stories. The light from her lava lamp still pulsed against the walls, same as when she was 7. And yet now, everything was different. Every photo on the shelf, every memory carved into this house, it all felt stolen. I kept replaying the look she gave me, that pure disgust, like I was the one who had betrayed the family, like I was the monster. I tried calling her, straight to voicemail. She didn't answer my texts. By noon the next day, I got a message from her. 4 words, "Don't contact me again." Just like that, my daughter, well, not biologically, but still mine in every way that mattered, had chosen her mother over the truth, over the man who raised her, paid her college tuition, stayed up sick nights beside her hospital bed. I stared at the message for a long time. It felt colder than anything Danielle had said. I went down to the garage, grabbed a bottle of Jack I hadn't touched in years, and opened it without thinking. Took 2 swigs, let it burn down. That's when my brother Ben called. "You holding up?" he asked. "No," I said. "She's gone. Haley, too." He was quiet for a second. "I know you're not going to want to hear this, but you need to stay sharp. Danielle's not the type to go quietly. I've got the evidence. All of it. Yeah, and she's got a head full of venom. She'll spin this any way she wants." He wasn't wrong. Danielle was a queen manipulator. She could convince a judge that the sun was cold. But I wasn't scared anymore. I was tired of being the doormat, tired of being the nice guy who gets steamrolled. That evening, I got another knock at the door. I opened it to find a woman I hadn't seen in almost a decade. Kendra, an old friend of Danielle's, the one who mysteriously disappeared from our lives after a vacation in Miami years ago. She looked nervous. "Can I come in?" she asked. "I need to talk to you." We sat at the kitchen table. She looked around like she was afraid Danielle would pop out of a cupboard. "I heard what happened," she said, "and I need to tell you something." I didn't say anything, just waited. "You remember that Miami trip, the one Danielle went on with a few girlfriends?" I nodded. She lied. That wasn't a girls' trip, it was a cover. She met up with Marcus again and 2 other guys. They had this thing. I didn't want to be part of it. I left after one night. I clenched my jaw. "And you're telling me this now? Why?" "Because I didn't know she was still lying to you. I thought you knew by now. But when I heard she got thrown out and Haley left too, I figured you'd need someone on your side." I leaned back in my chair. "She ever talk about me back then?" Kendra hesitated, then nodded. "She said you were boring, that being with you felt like being in a coma." She said, "Raising a kid with a guy like you is safe, but not exciting." I closed my eyes for a second, let it sink in, let it burn, then I opened them again. "Thank you for telling me." Kendra stood. "I'm sorry, Alex, I really am." She left, and just like that, another brick in the wall of lies collapsed. The woman I gave everything to thought I was boring, safe, a placeholder. That night, I made a decision. I wasn't going to just survive this. I was going to burn her legacy to the ground, legally, publicly, emotionally. She lit the match. I was just going to hand her the gasoline. The next morning, I put on my best suit. Not for court, not for a meeting, but for war. Danielle thought this was about heartbreak, about betrayal, about love gone sour. But she still didn't get it. She hadn't just destroyed a marriage. She'd humiliated a man who spent his life building a kingdom for her to rule. And now, I was taking every stone of that kingdom back. First stop, my lawyer, Grant Lawson, a pit bull in a blazer. I'd chosen him for one reason. He didn't believe in fair fights. He believed in scorched earth tactics and permanent reputational damage. He glanced up from the folder I dropped on his desk. "You're serious about going all in? She wants a fight?" I said. "I'm giving her one." Grant nodded. "Good, she's been busy. Already filed for alimony, claimed emotional distress, unstable home environment, coercion, and, get this, mental abuse." I actually laughed. "Mental abuse? From me?" "She's playing the system. Knows how it works. But here's what she didn't expect. Your receipts. He opened the folder and pulled out photos from Vegas, screenshots of texts, her journal, copies of financial records showing her using our joint account to send money to Marcus and 2 other men. She's screwed, he said with a grin. You give me 2 weeks, I'll have her begging for a settlement with nothing but her suitcase and a used toothbrush. That's not enough, I said. Grant raised an eyebrow. You want to go beyond divorce? I want everything. Her social standing, her circle, her job, her influencer persona. If she made a name for herself lying, I'm going to tear it off like duct tape. He leaned back. Then we're talking PR, social strategy, maybe even private investigation. Do it. And just like that, it was official. The gloves were off. By noon, I had already shut down her access to every joint account, canceled the cards she used for shopping sprees, alerted my accountant to freeze our assets until the legal split. I didn't care if it inconvenienced me. I wanted her to feel it every single hour that evening I drove to the local rec center, the one she volunteered at twice a week, the one where she paraded herself as the loyal mother, the devoted wife, the pillar of the community. I walked in, handed the director a sealed envelope. Inside, I said, you'll find photo evidence of your volunteer embezzling community funds, screenshots of purchases made with donation money, and a signed letter from a former friend who witnessed it. The director opened the envelope and turned pale. Who are you? Her husband, soon-to-be ex. He didn't ask anything else. Danielle's reputation crumbled before the sun set. She called me that night. I let it ring 10 times before answering. What did you do? She screamed. I just got suspended from the center. My cards aren't working. My lawyer says you're dragging this into the public. You made this public when you lied to my face every day for 22 years, I said coldly. This isn't revenge. This is correction. You're destroying my life. No, I'm giving you a taste of what mine became the day I found out Haley wasn't mine. She paused. I could hear her breathing, fast, shaky, and suddenly small. Then her voice dropped. Alex, we can fix this. You and me, we've been through worse. Don't throw this away. I laughed. Oh no, Danielle, you threw it away the moment you climbed into that hotel bed in Vegas. Or maybe it was years earlier, when you wrote in your journal how much you hated waking up next to me. Silence. You think you're strong? I added. You haven't seen strong yet. I hung up. I didn't want justice anymore. I wanted ruin, and I had just gotten started. 2 days later, I got a call from an unknown number. Alex, it's Taylor. I paused. Taylor was Danielle's best friend since college, maid of honor at our wedding, godmother to Haley. What do you want? To talk. Off the record. I agreed to meet at a local diner. I picked a corner booth where I could see the door and the street. I didn't trust anyone from Danielle's camp. Not anymore. Taylor arrived, sunglasses hiding her eyes, but her energy was different, nervous, twitchy. She sat across from me and didn't order a thing. I know you have every reason to hate me, she began. But you need to know, most of us had no idea what Danielle really was. I raised an eyebrow. Most? She exhaled. Some of us suspected things. The trips, the weird guys that popped up. She always had excuses, covered her tracks. She made you out to be controlling, insecure, emotionally cold. I scoffed. Of course she did. But after your blow-up went public, things unraveled fast, she continued. Her story stopped lining up. People started comparing notes. You weren't the one lying. She was, to everyone. I sat back, arms crossed. So why are you here? Because I'm done covering for her, and because you need to know what's coming. That got my attention. She's trying to flip this whole thing. Paint you as a manipulative narcissist who trapped her in a cold marriage. She's crafting this sob story arc about being a scared young woman forced to keep secrets for survival. And Haley, she's using her too, trying to get sympathy by dragging her into interviews, saying you mentally abused them both. I felt my stomach twist. Haley, the kid I raised, loved, protected, being used as a pawn. I've got proof she's lying, I said. You'll need more, Taylor replied. She's reaching out to media outlets, the influencer scene. She wants to spin this before it spirals. I didn't respond. I just stared at the coffee in front of me, black and bitter, the way she liked it. Taylor slid an envelope across the table. These are screenshots of our group chats, voice notes, stuff she sent me years ago about the guys, the lies, even one where she jokes about Haley looking more like Marcus than you. I looked through them slowly. My hands were shaking again, but not from pain, from the cold precision forming in my mind. Why now, I asked. Why are you really helping me? Taylor hesitated. Because I was one of the idiots she used. She made me lie to you, tell you we were shopping when she was out screwing some guy in a hotel. I didn't think she'd drag Haley into it like this. I nodded once, took the envelope. Thanks. She stood. For what it's worth, I always thought you deserved better. When she left, I called Grant. We need to go public, I said. Release everything. The The photos, the messages, the journal. I want her exposed so thoroughly no one ever takes her seriously again. Grant's voice lit up. Already ahead of you. I've got a media strategist. We're putting together a timeline. By Monday, we drop it. That weekend, I stayed quiet. Danielle posted 2 reels on Instagram, one crying in her car, talking about betrayal, spinning herself as a victim of male ego and patriarchy. The comments were full of sympathy. She's so strong, men are trash, she deserves peace. I didn't respond. I waited. Monday came, and with it, hell. We dropped the bomb, an exposé titled The Wife Who Lied for 20 Years, a father's story. Full breakdown, screenshots, audio, documents, even a lawyer's summary confirming the falsified paternity and the financial fraud. By noon, her comment section was on fire. By evening, she was trending for the wrong reasons. Her sponsors dropped her. Her charity removed her from the board. And Haley? She texted me. We need to talk. It was 7:42 p.m. when I heard the front door open. Not a knock, not a text, just the click of the lock, the slow creak, and the sound of sneakers on hardwood. I didn't move from the living room couch. I knew who it was. Haley. She stepped in, like she still belonged here, like the weight of her silence hadn't crushed me for a week straight. She was in a hoodie, hair tied back, eyes puffy, like she'd been crying all day. We stared at each other in silence for a few seconds. Too long. She finally spoke. Is it all true? I didn't answer with words. I just reached for the folder on the coffee table and slid it toward her. The same one Grant had used to nuke Danielle's narrative. She sat down slowly, opened it, and began flipping through the evidence, the photos, the DNA results, the financial records. Her mother's journal, page after page, each one a nail in the coffin of the fantasy Danielle built for her. 10 minutes passed in silence. Then Haley closed the folder, leaned back, and stared at the ceiling. I thought you were just bitter, that you were trying to punish her. I was, I said, but not with lies. I didn't need to make anything up. She swallowed hard. She said you hit her once, that you screamed at her, that you told her I wasn't your daughter just to hurt her. I never laid a hand on her. I've never screamed at her. And I didn't tell you about the DNA to punish her. I told you because you deserve the truth, no matter how awful it is. She was quiet for a while, then whispered,
I told you to never contact me again.
I know. She looked at me, and for the first time since this started, I saw it, the doubt in her eyes cracking into guilt. I'm sorry, she said softly. I didn't know who to believe. You believed her, I said. I raised you for 22 years, and the second someone else cried louder, you switched sides. She winced. I didn't mean to choose. Everything was happening so fast she was breaking down. She said she had nothing left. I thought she needed me. And what about me, I said. My voice didn't rise, but it cut sharper than any yell. What was I? A broken tool? A thing to discard once it didn't fit her version of the truth? I was scared, she said. So was I. The room went still. She looked down. I took a paternity test myself. I had to know, and it matched. Marcus is my biological father. My stomach turned, but I nodded. I already knew. Still, hearing her say it made it more real. So what now? I asked. I don't know, she whispered. I want to be angry at her, but she's still my mom, and I don't know what that makes me. You're still Haley. You're still the kid I taught to ride a bike, the one who couldn't sleep without her nightlight. But I'm not your father anymore. Not legally. Not on paper. Tears welled in her eyes. Do you still love me? I didn't flinch. I don't know. I want to, but I don't even know who you are anymore, she cried, and I let her. No hugging, no comforting, not yet. That chapter hadn't been earned. After a few minutes, she stood up. I'll go. She reached the door, then turned back. She's not okay, she said. She's completely falling apart. No friends left, no job, no plan. She said you took everything from her. I met her eyes. She took everything from me. I just took it back. She opened the door. If she does something reckless, it's on you. I raised my eyebrows. No, Haley. If she does something reckless, it's on her. That's the one thing you both never understood. Actions have consequences. The door closed behind her, and for the first time since Danielle left, I felt peace. But it didn't last long because an hour later the cops showed up at my door. Blue and red lights danced through the windows like a twisted celebration. I opened the door and was greeted by 2 uniformed officers, stern, silent, and clearly not here for friendly conversation. Alex Carter? The taller one asked. Yes, we need to ask you to come with us. There's been an accusation of domestic violence and threats against your ex-wife. We just need to ask a few questions. I froze. It was a trap. Danielle's final card, dirty, desperate, and designed to bury me alive. I didn't resist. I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. I simply nodded, grabbed my coat, and followed them out. My lawyer's card was already in my wallet, waiting for this exact moment. As I sat in that sterile, cold interrogation room, one thought played on a loop in my head. She'd rather destroy me than admit she lost. The officer across from me read Danielle's statement out loud. She claimed I'd come to her temporary apartment 2 nights ago, slammed her against a wall, screamed that she ruined my life and threatened to end her if she didn't disappear. Complete fiction. I hadn't seen her since the day she left my house with that suitcase, and she knew it. But she also knew that in situations like this, perception often outweighs truth, at least at first. "Do you have an alibi for that night?" the officer asked. I smiled bitterly. "Yeah. I was at home, alone, watching emails fly in as my exposé torched her reputation. Can anyone verify that?" "My lawyer. He sent me documents that night." "Check the timestamps. You'll see I was online, not beating someone." The cop jotted that down. "And your daughter? She mentioned you seemed unstable when she visited you yesterday." I narrowed my eyes. That unstable man gave her the folder of evidence she used to confront her lying mother. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't touch her. "Ask her yourself." The officer stared at me for a moment, then nodded. An hour later, they let me go. No charges, just a pending investigation. I walked out into the cold night air, my phone buzzing in my pocket. It was Grant. "She filed it, huh?" "Yeah, she's drowning," he said. "And when people drown, they claw at anything, even if it means dragging others under." "I want a restraining order," I said. "I want her blocked from contacting me in any way, and if she so much as looks in my direction, I want her held in contempt." "We'll file first thing in the morning." I hung up, got in my car, and sat there for a while, watching the people walk by, wondering how many of them were living a lie, just like I had been, smiling through the rot. When I got home, the silence hit harder than usual. No echo of laughter, no smell of dinner, no Haley, no marriage, just me, alone but not broken. I walked into the bedroom, pulled open the drawer where I used to keep love letters from Danielle, and dumped them into the fireplace. Lit a match, watched them curl into ash. A few days passed. The accusation didn't go anywhere. Danielle had no bruises, no witness, no proof. The cops quietly dropped it, but her name was already poisoned beyond repair. Sponsors gone, her account suspended, friends disappeared like smoke. Haley messaged again. Just one word, "Sorry," I didn't reply. She made her choice. Now she'd live with it. A month later, I finalized the divorce. No alimony, no house, no cars. Danielle left with exactly what she brought into the marriage, nothing. I stood in the courtroom staring at her one last time. Her face was hollow. No makeup, no smugness, just regret twisted into hatred. As we walked out, she stopped me. "You think you won?" she whispered. I looked her dead in the eyes. "No," I said, "I didn't win. I just survived. And you? You destroyed everything you touched." She opened her mouth, but I was already walking away. What did I learn? That love built on lies always collapses, that blind loyalty can be fatal, and that the people closest to you can be the most dangerous. To anyone reading this, let me give you one piece of advice. Never ignore the red flags just because you're in love with the color. Because one day, you might wake up next to someone who's not just lying to you, they're building your prison. The weeks that followed were a strange kind of quiet. The chaos of Danielle's downfall had settled into a muted hum, like the world was catching its breath. I sold the house. It wasn't about the money, though I needed it after the legal fees. It was about shedding the last skin of a life that no longer belonged to me. Every room, every corner, held memories that felt like landmines. The kitchen where I set out that final breakfast, the bedroom where I found her journal, Haley's room with its fading glow of childhood innocence. I couldn't live there anymore. I moved into a small apartment downtown, a place with bare walls and a view of the city skyline. It wasn't home yet, but it was a blank slate, and that's what I needed. I started running again, something I hadn't done since my 30s. The rhythm of my feet on the pavement, the burn in my lungs, it was a reminder I was still here, still moving. I didn't tell anyone about it, not even Ben. It was mine, a private rebellion against the years I'd spent standing still for someone else's story. But the nights were harder. The silence wasn't peaceful, it was heavy, filled with questions I couldn't answer. Did Haley mean it when she said sorry? Would she ever understand what her mother had done? And the worst one, had I been a good father, or was I just a fool who believed in a family that never existed? 3 months after the divorce, I got a letter. Not an email, not a text, an actual handwritten letter slipped under my door. It was from Haley. My hand shook as I opened it, not sure what I was expecting. Her words were messy, like she'd written it in a rush. "Dad, I know you're not my dad anymore, not like that, but that's what I'll always call you. I was wrong. I was scared and stupid, and I believed her because it was easier than facing the truth. I've been talking to Marcus. He's not a bad guy, but he's not you. He doesn't know me. He doesn't care the way you did. I don't know if you can forgive me, but I need to see you. I need to try. I'm staying at the old apartment on 4th Street. Come by if you want. If you don't, I get it. I'm sorry. Haley. I read it 3 times, sitting on my couch, the city lights flickering outside. I didn't cry, but my chest felt like it was caving in. Part of me wanted to crumple it up, to keep the walls I'd built intact. She'd chosen Danielle, called me pathetic, walked away. But another part, the part that remembered her tiny hand in mine when I taught her to skate, couldn't let go. I didn't reply right away. I needed time to sit with it, to figure out what forgiveness even meant when the wound was still raw. The next day I met Sarah, a colleague from work who'd been quietly checking in on me since the news broke. She wasn't pushy, just present. We grabbed coffee at a small shop near the office, and for the first time I told someone the whole story, not just the facts, but the weight of it. Sarah listened, her eyes steady, no pity, just understanding. "You're not pathetic," she said when I finished. "You're human. You loved him, and they broke you. But you're still here, Alex. That's not nothing." Her words hit harder than I expected. She wasn't trying to fix me or sell me some self-help nonsense. She just saw me, and for the first time in years I felt visible. Sarah became a regular part of my life. Lunch breaks, late-night talks, the kind of friendship that sneaks up on you. She'd been through her own betrayal, a fiancé who left her for someone else, and we bonded over the scars. "You don't have to be whole to start over," she told me once, over beers at a dive bar. "You just have to be willing." I didn't know if I was ready for anything more, but her presence was a reminder that the world wasn't just a graveyard of broken promises. 6 months later I went to see Haley. I didn't call ahead. I just showed up at the apartment on 4th Street, my heart pounding like I was 20 again, asking a girl out for the first time. She opened the door, and for a moment we just stared. She looked older, tired, but her eyes were softer, like the smugness had been burned away. "You came," she whispered. I nodded. "You asked me to." We sat on her tiny balcony, the city humming below us. She told me about Marcus, how he was trying to be a father but didn't know how he'd disappear for weeks after promising to call. She told me about Danielle, who'd moved to another state chasing some new guy, still spinning her victim story to anyone who'd listen. "I don't know who she is anymore," Haley said, her voice breaking. "I don't know who I am either." "You're Haley," I said. "You're the kid who made me a father, even if I didn't know it was a lie. That's who you are." She cried then, and I didn't stop her. I didn't hug her either, not yet, but I stayed. We talked for hours, about the past, about the truth, about the years we'd lost. It wasn't forgiveness, not exactly, but it was a start, a crack in the wall. I started writing again, not a journal, but stories, pieces of myself I'd buried under Danielle's lies. I joined a local writers group, met people who didn't know my past, who didn't look at me like a broken man. One of my stories about a father and a daughter who find their way back got published in a small literary magazine. It wasn't a bestseller, but it was mine. Sarah was the first to read it, and when she looked up, her eyes were wet. "You're going to be okay, Alex," she said. And for the first time, I believed her. A year after the divorce, I saw Danielle again. I was at a grocery store picking up coffee when she appeared in the aisle. No makeup, no silk robe, just jeans and a tired face. She froze when she saw me, then tried to smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Alex," she said, like we were old friends. I didn't respond. I just looked at her, the woman who'd turned my life into a lie, and felt nothing. Not anger, not pain, just a quiet void where she used to live. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice small. "I didn't mean to hurt you." I nodded.
I know. You just didn't care if you did.
I walked away, and this time, I didn't hear her voice chasing me. That night, I sat on my balcony with a beer, watching the city glow. Haley was coming over tomorrow. We were trying, slowly, to rebuild something real. Sarah was meeting us for dinner, her laughter already a steady anchor in my life. I wasn't whole yet, but I was free. And freedom, I learned, isn't about winning. It's about choosing to live, even when the lies try to bury you. I raised my bottle to the stars, to the man I was becoming. And for the first time in 22 years, I felt like I was enough.